Hello and welcome. My name is Tuxedo Ian, and I am going to be playing a game of Book of Hours. For those who are unaware, this is the second game in the Secret Histories setting created by the company Weather Factory. And the basic idea is that we are a librarian that will be putting an old library that has fallen into disuse back into order. So we're just going to go ahead and start a new game here. Brankrug, March 7th, 1936. There has been no librarian at Hush House since the fire. 7 years now. Suitable candidates are very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on your journey. The seas around Brankrug are treacherous. And so we are starting out, and we are here at St. Brandon's Cove. So we have a few things on the screen. We have some various boxes down here that will be holding things as we collect them. Right now we don't have anything. Apparently our ship has not made it. We can click on St. Brandon's Cove, and we see here the sea ends and the world begins. Or the other way around. After storms, the fishermen of Brankrug Village find oddities washed up here. So let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we have a little consider verb over here. So let's see what happened here. The cold comes first. Thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me, sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. And so we get to first see how this game works, which is basically that everything is represented as a set of cards that we can place into various things to get actions. So let's see what we have to start with. We have our health, half drowned. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing. Find somewhere to warm up. A memory of a storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky and one's thoughts from one's skull. And we have a drowned book, the one possession I kept from the shipwreck. It must be important to me. The aspects below tell you more about where and how you can use this item. So, we will check these. This is a thing. Gentleman makes things his servants. The petty man is servant to things. This is a readable. There are worse things to put in your eyes than this. This is also a journal. I began before this book, but it'll end when I do. And finally, it is soaked. It is in peril of dissolution. Intervene quickly, but not hastily. Well, we're washed up on the beach. Not much we can do about that right now. Let's collect these and see what we've got. Remember, what do I have left to work with? Well, we can look at this. If we click on it, we can see we need either an element of the soul, a memory, or something soaked to go into this slot. So let's start. Let's try our storm. What does it say? Scattered memories. I can't get my thoughts straight, but there's something in my hand. Your single remaining possession is in a belongings slot at the top. So we have 5 slots up here we can carry things in. Nothing really we can do other than that. We try putting our health in. I'm soaked, I'm freezing, but as far as I can tell, I'm still alive. You still have some health. Don't lose it. You need it if you want to be alive. What else do you have? Your single remaining possession is in a belongings slot at the top. Okay, well that's not going to get us anything, so let's try the drowned book and see what we can get from it. I remember. Perhaps this book can help me put the pieces together. So we're salvaging the book, and we ask what's left. We can try putting in the storm, or the health. The storm didn't take everything. We put our health in. Oh, freezing fingers. The book's in bad shape, and I'm not much better. We're both in need of a warm, dry, safe place, and soon. Well, that's not going to get us anywhere. Let's try with the storm. I remember. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg. But I seized this book as the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brancrook. So we're going to click start because that's available now. And we wait 5 seconds. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg. But I seized this book as the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brancrook. And Brancrook is where I wanted to be. But it's hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? A memory of core? Core is exuberance, instinct, rhythm. Do these mean something to me? Memory of fet. Fet is the part of us which dreams. Are dreams important to me? And shapt. Shapt is eloquence and also understanding. The door opens both ways. Is my soul open to knowledge? Well, we'll go ahead and collect those. We'll look at the book again. And, well, we're feeling very instinctual here. The human soul has 9 parts: exuberance, enthusiasm, instinct, all arise from that part of the soul we call core. Is my core strong? Recover this. The 2 other possibilities would be lost to the sea. For now. Well, let's go with that for now. This is the coast where Brancrook Isle lays. It wasn't easy to come here, but I don't give up easily. Even so, I know there's no way I can cross to the isle in these seas. I'll need to find shelter for the night. And we have 4 more to pick from: Whist, Faust, Metal, and Arab. Whist. Whist is the name, the memory, the part which remains. Is it important to me that things endure? Faust. Faust is sight, perception, inspiration, all of the glory's gifts. Is my soul a bright soul? Metal. Metal is the capacity for meaningful choice. Did I prove my mettle? Arab is pride, compassion, hatred, and fear. Do these passions burn in me? Well, out of all of those, I think I feel like the type of person who is really important that memory and endurance is what matters. What remains of me? Knowledge? Whist is the soul's memory, the true name scratched on the cornerstone. What remains after the rest has passed? Choose a strong whist and a past where you sought voices that had fallen silent. The waves will wash away the others. For now. There are still things I don't remember. But I do remember there's someone in the village who will give me sanctuary. If I can get there. Mysteries have been added to your journal. You can begin to investigate them when both you and your journal are dry. So our journal now has a sky aspect. Wind, storm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics and the principles of flight. Law's touch is lighter than we sometimes think. Matters of balance, harmony, and necessity. And it has Mystery Winter. Well, we'll have to investigate that later. For now, let's see what else we've been given. Oh, we've remembered an old friend's address. Mr. Kill is the coffin maker of Brancrook Village. I once wrote kindly of his poetry. His home is always open to me, though he's asked me never to mention poetry in front of Mrs. Kill. I can find shelter for the night under their roof, once I've reached Brancrook Village. And we have something new that's appeared. Shelter. Brancrook Village must be nearby, but it's hard going dragging my soaked body across the soaked sand in the teeth of this wind. Which way? So we'll let this play out and see what it gives us. We have a memory of fear. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Lovecraft. So this is a memory. Something remembered might be something understood. They can be used to help with crafting and to upgrade skills. They will disappear each dawn, except persistent ones. And it has the aspects of edge. All conquest occurs at the edge. One who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong and grows stronger. Edge is the principle of battle and of struggle. And it has the principle of scale. Hard without, hard within, hard to rouse, harder to subdue. What is left of the crude powers of the deep earth. Above me, atop the cliffs, lies Brancrug Village. I'll never reach it in this storm, but if I can only master my remaining strength to find help. Clicking on a slot will highlight cards and objects which can go there. Well, it's lighting up our core, so let's put our core into the slot and see what it says. Something in the wind? My instinct tells me it might be this way, and without a map, instinct is as good a compass as any. The cliffs grow dark against the ragged stars, and then at last I see the light of a hurricane lamp bobbing in the dark. As it approaches, a face glimmers above the lamp. We've managed to locate a fisherman. A fisherman from Brancrug Village. He can guide me up the cliff path, if he trusts me. The aspects below tell you more about how and where you can use this card. Mouse over them to learn more, or to see what other things also have those aspects. He has moon. Secrets are soft. Night is softer still. The sea speaks. It is not always wise to listen. The nocturnal and the forgotten. We have sky, which we've already seen. Skeptical. Trust can be bought or earned. Assistance. The librarian lives alone, but there's no shame in seeking assistance from others. Assistance can open new rooms or help with your studies. It disappears when used, or at dawn. And reluctant. Someone who will provide some help, but only essential help. Well, let's see what we can do to talk to him. Come no closer. What's thy business? Well, we can tell him we have an old friend, someone who will vouch for me with the villagers. Be someone that'll speak for ye? Of course. Since 1930 and the Restoration, the locals have grown ever more suspicious of foreigners. But there is someone in Brancrug I know. I'll take ye by the cliffs, then. This gentleman is no longer skeptical. Use him to unlock Brancrug Village. So, we are going to zoom out just a little bit here. And the island is covered in fog because we can't really do anything yet. So let's see, we have two locks here. One for the tidal flats. Requires either moon or winter. Well, our man doesn't have that much winter or moon. But we have Brancrug Village over here. Brancrug Village, sanctuary in the storm. I'll need help to climb the cliffs in the dark, and the locals are suspicious of outsiders, more than ever so since the Restoration and the new king. Well, we are required to have assistance and sky. We can't have someone that's skeptical. Well, it's a good thing we've already relieved this guy's skepticism. So we'll pop him in here, and we will unlock Brancrug Village. And go find us somewhere warm to spend the night. Well, let's see what we have here. Oh, the smithy. Denzel Smith has more work than he needs, and he rarely opens his door to strangers. You need an introduction or a mutual acquaintance marked with edge, forge, or heart. Someone in a similar trade, or someone who can appeal to his secret passion for saffron cake. Well, that's not going to do us any good. What do we have over here? The Sweet Bones. After the Restoration of 1930, the new king's agents came looking for his enemies in these parts, and they weren't gentle about it. Since those days, the locals are suspicious of foreigners. No one in the Sweet Bones will talk to me. Well, guess that's not going to help us either. The post office. The postmistress may have something for me, once I know what to look for. The rectory. Reverend Timothy is a hospitable soul, but Terence, his housekeeper, guards her employer fiercely. She doesn't want his innocent theological enthusiasms getting him in trouble with the new king's men. You need an introduction, or a mutual acquaintance marked with lantern, knock, or sky. Perhaps someone who shares his interests in theology or poetry. Leaves us one final house to check. Mr. and Mrs. Kill. Mrs. Kill, the midwife, is tall and gloomy. Mr. Kill, the undertaker, is slight and wry. In these troubled times, both are wary of strangers. Well, we have an old friend's address for Mr. Kill, so let's see what we can do. Mr. Kill struggles with the door. The wind almost snatches it from his hands. The storm wind plucks at you both. Well, we can plug our health in and get shelter. Mr. Kill struggles with the door. The wind almost snatches it from his hands. His eyes widen as he sees me. Mr. Kill is grinning like the happiest of skulls. Come in, come in! Lacey wants fitted for a box. And he leads me into the warmth of the parlor, calling for Mrs. Kill to come see the rescue. Mr. Kill constructed the bed himself. I rather fear with the same tools he uses to shape coffins. It's not a comfortable bed, but it's dry, clean, and warm. So we can take shelter with the Kills for the evening. And day dawns on our first day here in Brentcrook Village. I sit up talking with Mr. and Mrs. K as the wind rattles the shutters and the fire shrugs its way emberward. I'm very hungry, and Mrs. K's galettes are impossibly good. Mr. K pretends to grumble about foreign cooking. No one is convinced. So we have a memory of satisfaction. Some appetites are easier to satisfy than others. The aspects of Grail, hunger, lust, the drowning waters. The principle of the Grail honors both the birth and the feast. And heart. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world we understand. The heart is the principle that continues and preserves. And we have our health back to normal. The dwelling place of the soul, the ninth of the 9 parts of the soul, the only one that can be touched. We have the aspect of heart, the aspect of nectar, the green wealth in the world's veins, the pulse of the seasons. Long ago, some called this principle blood. And scale. It's an element of the soul, and it has the ability of occupant. A visitor or soul element can be placed in a guest bed to occupy it for a while. Well, I guess we'll find out more about that later. Excuse me. Well, let's see what we have available to us now. Now, we have a lock over here. A mist cloak bridge. Every so often, someone builds a bridge to the isle. Each bridge lasts 100 years, or 200, then the sea disposes of it. This was built in the 1890s, and that makes it the newest bridge. But that doesn't mean it's new. Well, Hush House has been empty for 7 years. Those 7 years have rendered the bridge perilous. We're going to need to do some repairs, and to do that we'll need some assistance from someone with either forge, lantern, or sky ability. Let's see what we have to work with. We have our health, and we have some whist. Now, we can't go to the rectory, because the Reverend doesn't know us yet. We can't go to the Sweet Bones, they don't know us yet. And we can't go to Denzel because he doesn't know who we are yet, so I guess we're stuck talking to Mr. and Mrs. Kill. So let's see what we can use. Oh, our whist is available. Let's plug that in. Mr. Kill always enjoys a chance to catch up with me. If you don't choose a topic, Mr. Kill will offer help as a friend. Mr. Kill can always spare a few hours to help a friend. Well, we have another box that pops up here that allows us to say and ask Mr. Kill about something specific, or leave this empty to wait for him to finish with his hammer and lend his assistance. But we can put something that's soaked in here. Well, we have our soaked journal. Let's see if he can help with that. Mrs. Kill, gloomy as always, kind as ever, lights the kitchen fire and helps me dry the book, while Mr. Kill saws away in the next room. Birth always leaves marks, she opines, and carefully tucks fragments of muslin between the damp pages. We have a feathered book. The feathers that adorn its covers are bedraggled from its time in the sea. Oh. It's uncatalogued. There's nothing as safe as ignorance, or as dangerous. Still has all the same other things, though. Well, what can we do with that? Well, let's see if we can consider it. Oh, some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. Bacon. Studying requires effort. You'll always need a suitable soul card first. Well, unfortunately right now we don't have anything we can read this book with. So let's see. Where else might we be able to go? The post office. A place of power. A place of knowledge beneath the sheltering hand of His Majesty the King. We need something readable and a journal, but not something that's soaked or someone that's reluctant. Well, we have a journal. Let's try showing it to the postmistress and see what she says. Something from me? The postmistress regards me with the chilly gaze of a goddess image in an ancient hill shrine. The librarian, says she. Yes, I have something for you. Wait here, please. The postmistress returns with an envelope addressed to the librarian, Hush House, Brankrug Isle, postmarked in Wales a week ago. Now we have a 10-shilling note and a letter to the librarian. 10 shillings, half a pound, but not half a note, a recent innovation. And it is 120 pence, the eccentric currency of a fallen empire. 1 penny is 4 farthings, 12 pence are 1 shilling, and so on. For those of you who may not be aware, the British currency system used to be rather esoteric. They reformed it into a decimal system sometime not too long ago, but at this point in time they were still using this rather strange system, which you will become accustomed to as we see the way things work. We also have a letter to the librarian, a letter to me from St. Ronwin's Trust. The trust connection with Hush House is probably benevolent, but persistently obscure. It's readable, and it's correspondence. Well, once we find a writing desk, we'll be able to respond to it. For now, though, let's see what we can do about reading it. Oh, we can look at in this correspondence. Lights up here. A message for me. Read the letter. To reply instead, add ink at a desk. I finished reading. St. Ronwin's Trust wishes to congratulate me on my appointment as librarian of Hush House. The trust assures me that it will provide the promised stipend each spring, but reminds me that its resources are limited and suggests I seek local assistance in restoring the premises. Let us know when you're all set up and ready to receive visitors, the letter concludes, It's signed simply the trustees. Well, now we have a little bit of a job then. We need to get the place ready and start getting people to come visit us. For now, though, well, we have a 10-shilling note. We have our journal, which we don't have the ability to read just yet. Some fear and a satisfaction. We don't have anything we can do at either the rectory or the smith for now, so let's see what we can do. Anything at the Sweet Bones? For a sea of hostile faces, we can put some money in. We can put our metal in, our core, or shaft, which we don't have the core ability right now. It's fatigued and already used. So let's try putting some money in. A warm welcome at the inn. In the time of the Heptarchy, a ring giver was accounted generous. In this bright and civilized century, a beer buyer enjoys the same regard. Guess we're going to buy some beer for the locals and see what they have to say. I bought a round for everyone, and another, and one more for luck. And thus was I accounted not so bad for a foreigner. I'll find a warmer welcome here next time. Well, that used 12 pence of my 120, so we left with 108 pence. And we got a memory of solace, peace after trouble, which has heart and sky attached to it. Well, we'll probably need those later. For now, though, we're left with a crown, a half-crown, a shilling, and a sixpence. Well, the Sweet Bones has been the public house in Brandgrove since Cromwell's time. Its history is notable. Its beer is not. Guests looking for discreet employment, or for discreet assistance, congregate in the snug. So, let's see what we can do. Oh, this says we can put an element of the soul in, but it can't be maladied. Well, I guess we'll have to worry about that later. None of our substances are maladied, but they are fatigued. Or mine. We can put in money, something soiled, or something that's soaked. Well, our book has already been dried out, so we don't have to worry about that. But let's try putting in some money and see what happens. Assistance from a miner. In spring, the local miners often travel to the Feast of Lights below. If one breaks his journey at the Sweet Bones, a shilling will buy his labor for a day. Miners offer scale, forge, and a little moon. Alternatively, add a soul card to find any rare guests who might be seeking employment. Well, for now, let's see what we can do with this miner's help. Because if you remember, when we looked at the bridge over here, we have some miners' assistants. They more or less ruled themselves with the help of their wild Celtic temperament, made wilder by the hardness of their lives and the truly ghastly conditions under which they worked. With all this, it is not to be wondered that the tinners acquired the reputation of being scarcely human. But it must be remembered that among them at all times were those whose characters could stand comparison with the best of men. So our miner has forge, moon, and some scale. He's also assistants, and he has an introduction. So let's collect him. And if we look over at the bridge, we need either forge, lantern, or sky. Well, our miner just happens to have a little bit of forge, so we'll put him in here, and we can unlock the bridge. The Kirkubit Bridge. Hush House has been many things over the centuries, including in the nocturnal period of 1896 to 1929, a jail. No one remembers that period fondly, but at least it meant Nocturnal Branch paid for a new bridge. And leaves us with another lock. The lodge at the gate. A cottage where Hush House's groundskeeper lived, until the fire. If I can get into the place and make it habitable, I can use it as a base for reclaiming more of the house. I need something with 2 forge, 1 heart, or 1 knock. Well, we know that our miner assistants gives 1 forge. Is there something else we can do to find something with 2 forge? Oh, let's go and hire another one and see what we can do. This time we'll put in a half crown. Hire another miner. Because a half crown is 2.5 shillings, obviously. Where a full crown is 5 shillings, 1/4 of a pound. So we get back a 6 pence and a shilling. So we now have 2 shillings, which combine together to make a florin. I told you the money system was a little odd. You'll get used to it as the time goes by. Well, our miner has forge, moon, and scale, but we need 2 forge. Well, what can we do with that? Well, if we remember, when we looked at the forge over here, Denzel needs an introduction, which these guys certainly can do, that has forge, edge, or heart. So let's have the miner introduce us to Denzel. A mutual acquaintance will introduce me to Denzel the Smith. I might get 6 or even 10 words out of him, if I'm patient. Denzel is a surprising source of practical advice. The smithy is now available, and we have a memory of foresight. Wits, forge, and fire blast, meanings press and screw. Coleridge on Don's poetry, which has the abilities of forge and lantern. So now we have a bit of a choice. We have the smithy, or we have a miner. The miner only has 1 forge. We don't know what Denzel would have, but according to this little ledger up here, he will have some edge, some forge, and some heart. Denzel Smith, strong as oak, blackened by smoke. He will never surpass his father, and he is no longer a soldier, but he still has his craft. In order to get him, we need something with either edge, forge, or heart on it, which just so happens to be our health. We can use our health to speak with Denzel. Denzel will talk about practical matters, though he prefers to sit in silence. A shilling will buy his help for the day. If you give him occult coinage, he will perform the service of division instead. Let's go ahead and hire Denzel. We can put a florin in here. What do you need? And get some help from the forge master himself. Which gives us a shilling and the blacksmith's assistance. Denzel the blacksmith will lend me his strength for the day. Make use of the blacksmith's help before dawn. So he has 2 edge and 2 forge. Edge, we've already seen before. Forge, fire, I once read, is the winter that warms and the spring that consumes. The principle of the forge transforms and destroys. So Denzel can help us unlock this lodge at the gate because he does have enough forge on it. So let's get him working on that. And that will take us a minute. So while that is going on, is there anything else we can do? We don't have any more active soul cards right now, but we can come over to the Sweet Bones and we can see, oh, this allows us to put our fatigued soul cards into here. So we can recharge one of these. Let's see what happens. Rest and refreshment. 2 will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. Well, we know we're going to need some winter to read our book, so we might as well recharge the whist and see what happens. Oh, we need to pay. So we'll slot the shilling in there. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a piece of her starry-gazy pie, with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. And we can let that run while Denzel is working to get the lodge back in place. And we'll just speed up time a little bit to go a little faster, since we have nothing else we can do. last we have revealed our destination, the Hush House. This is where we will be spending the majority of the game, exploring and finding out what is in all of these various rooms, and restoring the house back to where it should be. But for now, we look at this first room. The great gate of the house. The walls of the house tower above me. I had been told that it was abandoned after a fire, but there is no sign of any such thing. The building will no doubt need restoration, but it's in better shape than I'd feared. Books are the memory that does not die, reads the inscription above the gate. In order to open this, we're going to need a key. There's also a thing, and has the knock principle. And if you hover over something, you see, oh, there's something flashing there in the little lodge. So one of the nice things we can do, we can zoom in one step at a time here and see what it is that's actually flashing. This looks like a gigantic key here. The Hush House key. Heavy enough it takes both hands to turn. Heavy enough to brain someone. Though you'd need both hands for that too. It has 3 knock, 3 winter. It is a thing, and it's a key. Knock. The principle called knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. Knock opens doors and unseams barriers. And winter. Winter is the principle of silence, of endings, and of those things that are not quite dead. As you can also see, there are several other things in the room which we will investigate in a little bit, but for now, we can open the gate of the house using this key. We can unlock the house, and that's going to take us another minute to get started on that. And we can come back here to the bones. We are better now. We get back some change, and we have our whist card available. So, what can we do now while we're waiting for that door to open? Well, maybe let's take a look at our journal. Since we have the ability to read it now. A journal? My journal? The feathered cover is familiar, but the storm so scattered my thoughts. Let's see what we can find out about this while the door is working on being unlocked. Just speed up time a little bit so we're not waiting around for quite so long. My journal. I'm sure of it. The storm scattered my thoughts, but each page I turn is familiar. I begin to recall now why I came here, and the knowledge I yearn for. More about your origin and your aspirations in your journal. You can now also access the Tree of Wisdoms from the top of the screen. We have another piece of core. And we have a feather-decked journal. In Karadar, I heard the secret gods speak to one another. I thought that would be the end of my journey, but the more I heard, the more I knew must be missing. I am the Librarian of Hush House, and I will find what has been lost. The Symergist came to Hush House to find a history with the songs that have fallen to silence. But you can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the birdsong wisdom. And you'll notice we have a new element here. Memories, the Symergist. I eavesdropped on the songs of the Eviform hours. I'd heard the warnings. I'd lose my mind, my soul, my skin. All those things are true, but no one ever warns you what happens if you get away with it. Which is to say, after that, there just doesn't seem to be anything else worth hearing. Interesting. Well, let's go ahead and collect that. And the rest of our day, which is almost over, we will take a look now. This is our skill web. Basically, as we adventure or learn various things, we can plug the skills we learn into this web to learn new things and gain more pieces of our soul back. But first, we have to plug something in the center. The rescue journal. My memories lie curled in my journal like a seed in winter earth. Once you've rescued and read your journal, use it to unlock the tree. So, we can put our journal here in the center, and we can assign it the roots of memory. There are always choices, and there are always regrets. Unlock the tree and gain a tryst card. So you gain some tryst, the change and the longing, one of the 9 parts of the human soul. Gives us a little bit of moon and some moth. I knew a man who captured moths in a bell jar. On nights like this, he would release them one by one to die in the candle. Moth is the wild and perilous principle of chaos and yearning. So we'll go ahead and take that, put it down here. And as you see, we now have the 9 branches of our skill tree open, but we don't have anything to put there yet. So we'll just go ahead and go back to the house. And while that is unlocking, we'll also notice and we'll take a look at what else we have in our little hut here. We have a little bit of dandelion wine, some homemade flower wine. We have a basket of clean linen, a nighttime luxury. We have a potted dragon tree, a determined, spiky little survivor. We have a guest bed, where we can, I guess that's where we can use one of our soul cards to. Stout, rustic, snug. Use a matching soul card to move your belongings in and make this your bed, or place a matching visitor card to encourage them to stay a bit longer. If we look up here, we see this is a bed that has scale, forge, knock, or heart. So we could use one of those 4 things to claim this bed for our own. Right now we have other things we need to do with our soul cards, but we'll keep that in mind for the next day. We have a straw cushion chair, upholstered without any particular skill. We have some Pillis oat bread, gritty bread made with the hardy ancient oats that grow at Land's End. Some C&H Second Flush Assam, tea from the land of the real unicorn, imported by Cater and Hero. Some Dawn Lion coffee, coffee from beyond the great deserts. Shadowless silk, a variant of the Persian silk tree, golden as the shadowless kings. And a honey scar scented candle, a candle scented with honey scar jasmine. I'm sure that will come in handy at some point. But we also have 5 books up here, and this is the main objective that we have for the game, is we will be looking for and exploring these books and reading them to learn new things. So we start off with Traveling at Night, Volume 1. The Annotated Dream Journal of Christopher Illapoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. Has mystery knock, so we need to be able to generate at least 4 knock in order to be able to read this. Unfortunately, right now, none of our things that we have, none of our soul cards give us knock, so I guess this is going to be just a bit beyond us for now. Traveling at Night, Volume 2. Again, the Annotated Dream Journals of Christopher Illapoli, but this one has a mystery of Sky 6. Well, again, we don't really have anything that shows us what Sky is, so I guess we're going to have to wait on that for now. But we also have 3 other books here. As you can see, they are listed as uncatalogued books. One from the Curia, one from the Nocturnal, and one from the Baronial. Well, the first thing we can do with those, we can send one to the Consider verb and use one of our pieces of soul to see what exactly it is. We are going to catalog a Curia period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Books from this period are only rarely contaminated. So we'll let that run while the rest of the house is unlocking here. So we've opened up the Watchman's Tower Gatehouse. In the 11th century, Brian of Brittany built the tower and its gate to protect St. Brandon's Abbey, as Hush House was then known. Later, the Barons de Wolf strengthened the gate against their many enemies, but it's a long time now since Hush House was any kind of fortress, and by the time the scholars of the Curia took possession, this place had long been a comfortable waiting room for visitors to the house too minor to merit immediate attention. So we look and we have a couple of various things. We have a couch, we have some chairs, we have a vase of gorse, as Cornish a plant as any, some artwork on the walls, a treasury of shelters. It's like an armory for not getting pneumonia. That would have been handy while we were shipwrecked, but I guess it's better than nothing. Serena Blackwood, a bust carved from alabaster, and some horns on the wall. Some Yeth hound horns and red deer antlers. I guess we'll find out what those are for later. We've also opened the ability to open 2 new rooms. A cloistered garden. I can make out a green and shaded space, but it's choked with weeds and thorns. I'll need help to clear the space, so we're going to need either 2 lantern or 2 nectar to get through there. Or we can go to the gatehouse stairs. The stairs to the room above are blocked with debris, and the plaster is peeling from the walls. I'll need help from the village to clear and restore the place. We need 2 forge or 2 lantern. Well, we know Denzel has 2 forge, but right now we don't have anything that we can use to hire him with because our soul is exhausted. So let's finish up cataloging that one book. And let's see what we have. Now I have an idea of the book's nature and its contents. The Flayed Tantra. This Tantra is recorded as being spoken by an enigmatic individual identified as Peel, with many of the qualities of the mythological Naga. The Flayed Tantra played a notable part in Alexander Sparrow's paranoid pamphleteering. It has a mystery of heart at level 8. Well, we're quite a ways from that, so I don't think we'll be reading this just yet. It's also written in Sanskrit, the holy tongue of the subcontinent. The door to 4,000 years of poetry, ceremony, and mystery now opens before you, if you can struggle through the lotus convolutions of its vocabulary. The librarian reads Sanskrit, but don't assume others can. Excuse me. So we can place this back on our shelf here. And we have one more piece of soul, so we can catalog one more of these books. Let's do this nocturnal book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's nocturnal period, after the turn of the century. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Books from this period are almost never contaminated. And again, we just wait a few seconds to see what kind of book we found. Now I have an idea of the book's nature and its contents. The Locksmith's Dreams, Portions and Proportions. The second volume of Teresa Galmier's examination of parallels into the mystic dreams of artisans. The front piece has been slashed with a razor. This has a mystery of Sky 4, so fairly easy to read, but right now it's still beyond us because we don't have anything that gives us Sky. And with that, we have run out of things to do for our first day here at Hush House. So, now you kind of get an idea. This has all been just a tutorial to show us what we'll be doing. We will be exploring through the house, we will be finding and cataloging books that have been left around, and then we will be attempting to read those books to learn various things. So, we will pick up again here tomorrow. So, thank you for joining me, and I hope you all have a pleasant day.